Alright, so this is a review for the Wolverine anime from Marvel and Madhouse. Yes, I got desperate enough to watch it because, one, there was nothing better going on, and if I was going to watch a Marvel anime, I would rather go ahead and get this one out of the way and save what could potentially be the best one in Blade for last. So yeah, I was desperate enough to watch this. I watched it this weekend, and I did two marathons of it where I watched one disc for about 3 hours, and then Sunday night I watched the other 3 hours of the second disc while I was drinking beer. So maybe it's kind of like when I was watching the sci-fi version of Thor when the Marvel Thor came out to theaters last year, that I got me a buzz on, and I could tolerate this much better than a lot of other people did. Now, I'm going to admit, the design for Wolverine obviously sucks. Marvel's basically just giving us a big bird finger and saying, you know what, we're taking liberties and we're going to do what we want with this story. I'm going to say right now, this story is not Wolverine. Never mind the fact that they have this version of Wolverine, who, by the way, when they put out that first trailer for Wolverine a couple of years ago with the Iron Man trailer, and Wolverine was in the toga fighting the giant statue that disappeared after he slashed it, I don't know what the hell that was for, because that shows up nowhere in this anime. Or at least that particular scene didn't. And this very loose extended adaptation of the Frank Miller, Chris Claremont Wolverine is going to be a disappointment to a lot of fans of that story. The reason I could take this with such stride, however, is because I knew this was a dumb anime, and I enjoyed it strictly for the action scenes that took place in it. Alright, with character designs, yeah, this is your standard, typical Madhouse anime. I've gotten over the fact that Wolverine looks like Joe Dirt with claws in this movie, and some of the other character designs are actually pretty good for certain characters, especially about how hands down they got Yukio in this. I mean, she looks like the Japanese version of the Black Widow, but for some reason they still did her design fairly well. So there's a lot of good stuff going on in this anime that I don't really have to nitpick all that much. Now, I'm going to say the characterizations of any kind in here are just pretty much out the window. The closest thing that I could say that there is to anything identifiable or you feeling sympathy for is for the Yukio character. They go through the series with her little backstory about where she came from and why that she's working with Wolverine. And they've changed it up quite a bit in this anime too, or at least for this adaptation. Shinjin is in this, but they completely redo over the guy who was arranged to be married to Mariko, and they just turn him into this totally unlikable prick. Basically, this dude, who actually winds up having the voice of not Alphonse, but Edward Elric from Full Metal Alchemist, is the villain in this. And all the time that you sit there watching him, he's building up, and it's like, you know, when is he going to kill this guy? When is he going to get his hands on him? When it finally does happen at the end of the story, you know what? It's been building up, and though his demise is less than acceptable, you know what? I kind of accepted it. Once again, it was because I was buzzed when I was watching this. Don't get attached to characters if you decide to go and watch this based simply on my review, because there's nothing good to happen in this. Besides maybe attaching yourself to Yukio, I think the only other real character that shines in this, even close, would probably be Kikyo, who has the Baraka swords which come out of his wrists, and he fights Wolverine, and sometimes he's an ally with him. So there's that. Otherwise, this is not a good anime to watch. I can say that this will most certainly be better than what the Iron Man anime was in terms of action. The only drawback about the fights, or at least when it comes to the big guns in this, because Wolverine, he goes up against Omega Red, he goes up against Statue, and then he winds up going up against Shinjin at the end of this anime. I actually like the bits with Omega Red probably the best in all of this, being the fact that it is the only Wolverine villain that made it into the series. But the fights with Omega Red were actually pretty good. The stuff with the Statue went on too long, and when they got to Shinjin, there's a predictable but still interesting twist about why Wolverine can't take him down entirely, which is kind of alright if you're looking to just shut your brain off and watch something. But there again, they take way too long in getting to it. The first few episodes, the character designs are not what's going to be the major focal point of pissing you off about this anime. Again, I was buzzed, so I wasn't really... Well, when I was drinking beer, I wasn't really off-put by the end until I woke up this morning and decided to watch the end episode one more time just to be sure. The ending pisses you off, or at least the build-up to the end will piss you off, which starts about episode 9, where certain characters that were introduced are introduced and built up only to just die at this. Basically, everybody dies at the end of it, except for Wolverine. So it's kind of basically a giant fuck you to the fans at the end of it. So I wound up being a little bit more tolerable because I was drinking as I was watching this, but yeah, it's a bad anime. I mean, it's got some good points to it, but I've actually just researched it enough to say, hey, the design and the first couple of episodes are not what kills this anime. It's the ending of the anime, which is the biggest finger of all to anybody watching it. So obviously do not watch this. I decided to take this bullet simply because I had nothing better to do, and I just wanted to go ahead and get this out of my system. So obviously do not pick this up, and I probably will not watch this again.